So, all right,
Mhm,
so let's start with that. Like, tell me about how you started. And as like I know a little bit about you, right? So I know that you started out as a personal trainer, but tell me how you started out that transition from personal training to writing, because that's incredible.
yeah, the funny thing is, I first started writing when I was in, like, middle school. I was first published when I was 14.
Oh wow,
Um,
okay,
yeah, but as an essayist, but it just wasn't something that I thought of as, like, a it didn't define me, it didn't attach itself to me. It was an
right,
outlet for me with a lot of pain and trauma, and I grew up with a speech impediment, so it was hard for me to really express myself in any other way than
right,
writing. So, you go through adulthood and you start living your life, and then sometimes things just come back to you at the time that they need to. And I got into writing because I was training a comedy writer when I was working at Equinox. I was training somebody who was a guild comedy writer,
okay,
and that first kind of opened my eyes to it. And then another personal trainer who now works on the West Coast, he was working as a screenwriter or trying to get work as a screenwriter. So we started having little mingle sessions to learn more and learn more about the craft and just get better at what we were trying to do. That was when I was writing for screen. Then eventually that transitioned into me writing for theater because I started working for a nonprofit that worked in theater.
right.
And then from there, I found a story that didn't work as a stage play, so I needed to write it as a book, and that's how I ended up writing my first novel. It was purely just the right story came along. It didn't work any other way. So that's
Right.
kind of how the
Okay.
transition happened.
So that's a big case of you being lucky, but also you being disciplined enough to make
Hmm.
use of that luck, right, and turn it in your favor. That's yeah, that's incredible. So then, like, what uh aspects of training? I mean, what aspects of discipline from you being a trainer carried into the writing that made it work so effortlessly?
There are a few things. I think the first one right off the bat is a time discipline. Because being a trainer is so much about having things to do at this time and this time and
Sure,
this time.
sure,
So that was a smooth transition. I just filled the time with writing when I wasn't when I would normally be like, oh, I'm gonna have this time to take a nap or get a
sure.
workout in. I said, all right, I'm gonna make the workout a little shorter. I'm gonna run to the coffee shop down the block and I'm gonna get some writing in. So the time discipline was real easy. Having my day structured was really easy, and also the hard work of it. I mean, the hard mental work of it. And I think that came as much from both being an athlete and being a trainer. It was like, you know, a lot of people don't write the way we do don't realize how taxing it can be mentally
Sure,
on you.
sure.
So being able to show up every day through fatigue, being able to show up every day through stress and whatever else is going on, you know, we're both fathers, like it's all this other stuff that kind of piles into the mix. You're a human being at the end of the day. So trying to navigate being a human being and a human living and a human doing while trying to write isn't always the easiest, but that helped me get used to it. Was just always having a structured way my day was going to go.
Got you, got you. So
Mm,
also, what do you think is the biggest difference between writing fiction, that the novel, and writing like screenplay writing
mhm,
and playwriting? I'm in school right now for screenwriting, and I find
mm,
it kind of difficult from turning the switch on and
mhm.
transitioning from one discipline to the other. So
Yeah,
for you,
it's
what's the difference? Yeah.
yeah, it's I try to look at them through different lenses, and I learned it the other direct. I learned it, I guess, the same direction that you're learning it. I wrote a novel. Well, no, the opposite way is I was writing screen and then had to learn how to write a novel. And what I realized is that a screenplay is very much an instruction manual for a director, and
Oh, I like that. Okay.
it's really just about what is this person going to interpret, and the only things that are on there are things that are relevant to what the director needs to know how to do to help him or her best direct
Right.
this screenplay. So it's not as much prose, it's not as much flowery language. It's really a lot of get to the point,
Sure.
um, and leave things open to be interpreted by the director and by the actors, because actors don't like to be directed from the page.
Right. I,
So
I gotta write that down. The
yeah,
instruction manual for the director. I like that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Instructions for director.
yeah. So and because I spent so much time working in theater, I learned how to relate well to actors and how they want to be coached and talked to, and that's a very unique. So there's so many people that are a part of a screenplay that you got to be thinking about that it forces me to slow down a little bit, and I can't be as dreamy because I'm thinking about how to write for a budget. I'm thinking about, is this something that's even feasible? Could this actually be made? Um,
Right.
so that was me writing screenplays and writing novels. I can let my creativity kind of run wild and really dig deeper into taking a reader along for a journey and letting them in on what characters are feeling. It's nothing to be interpreted. I'm telling you what it is.
Right.
And any moments that I leave for interpretation are on purpose. It's that they're not meant to be interpreted. So I think that I have to be more hands on with a novel, whereas writing a screenplay felt a lot more like a team effort. It starts with me, but then you got to be way more open to feedback. You got to be way more open to changes because you're going to be dealing with costume and hair and makeup and production design and directors and producers with their budgets and their purse strings.
Right.
So I think a biggest difference is that one is very screenplays are very communal and writing novels is a solo act.
Got you. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Do you feel like also that explain to me what's the synergistic relationship between the two? Actually between the three. So like screenwriting, playwriting, and novels. One thing that I found, I was stuck in my memoir for a good minute. I was stuck at a certain point, and then I started messing around with my adaptation with my screenplay. And as I was writing the log line, I was writing out the log line, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's totally unlocked some memories, some point of views," and I was able to go back and articulate, right, and fix everything that I needed to fix in the memoir. And then once I did that, that also unlocked some more things for the screenplay. So I was like, wow, there's a real synergistic relationship between the two. So explain to me your interpretation of the relationship between the two or the three.
Yeah, I think for me, how the story comes to mind is the synergistic because in the beginning, I don't know which one it's going to be. I know that there's a story that I want to tell, and I don't necessarily know which. It all starts out as a plot grid and me just writing out thoughts almost stream of consciousness style. And at some point in that process, it clicks for me, this is a play, or this is a book, or this is a screenplay. I start the story in my head without necessarily knowing which direction it was going to work best. So I think the beginning, the budding process is the one part that's all congealed, and then the rest of it kind of branches off from there, and then it changes how I interact with the story. So the only thing that stays the same no matter which thing I'm doing is I'm very dialogue focused. Not necessarily that there's a whole lot of it, but that my dialogue always means something. All the pieces matter.
Got you.
Characters,
Got you.
what they say is just as important as what they don't say, and when they say it is just as important as when they stay silent. So that part is common no matter what medium I'm writing for. But it all starts with one idea is central, and I don't necessarily know which of the three things it's going to be until I really get going.
Got you. Got you. Okay, so let's talk about your works, right? So you have two novels. Your latest novel right now is Lost in the Sun, right? Which
Hmm.
just came out about a couple weeks ago, or maybe even days, right? And then
Hmm.
your first novel, tell me the name of your first novel again.
The first novel is called Left Unsaid. Came out
Left
last June.
Unsaid. That's right. And that came out last year. I remember that. That's right.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and you can talk about whichever novel in whichever order you want, but let's talk about how you decided that you wanted to become a fiction writer, and like why not memoir, or
Hmm.
why not continue with your essays?
Yeah. So that's a tricky one. I feel like
Okay, take
one.
your time.
No. It's why I feel like one unlocked each one unlocked one of the other ones in a
Okay,
way. I didn't realize how much I had to say in my essays until like which made me write my Substack. I didn't realize how much I had to say until I started preparing to write a fiction story. And then there were so many things that I wanted to convey that didn't fit the fiction story, but this stuff really matters to me, so I needed to find another way to talk about it. So the stuff that's in my Substack essays, in the absence of light, are all just stuff that doesn't fit in my books or doesn't fit in my plays, but is on my mind that I need to get it out.
got you.
So, so my the process of the way I came upon writing fiction was I've always been a lover of love stories. It doesn't matter, and I think that love stories are in every story, no matter what it
Sure.
is. I don't think you take a Saving Private Ryan. I don't care if there isn't a love story there. You mean to tell me those dudes don't love each other when they
Right, right,
cross
right,
it?
right.
They're going through all this together. That's
Yeah.
love. I think so. I think of love very broadly, and I look for the love in every story, no matter how absent it seems to be. So I knew that I wanted to write fiction, and I knew that love stories were the things that were going to be most calling to me, mainly because no shade to anybody else doing it. I love reading love stories and watching love stories, but there was something about them that didn't feel that get quite coagulated for me. And I wanted to fill that space. They'd say, write the story that you want to read. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted stories that felt very real and very lived in with real people that are not you, but they feel very real.
Right,
These are
right.
stories. These aren't like romanticized, for lack of a better word, no pun intended, romanticized versions of love. This is
Sure.
the ugly and often hard to look at versions of love that actually exist on a day to day basis. And I wanted
Oh,
to get into the ugly beauty of how love often looks, and that it's not always picturesque. So that's what kind of drove me toward fiction. I never felt compelled, no matter how much people always tell me that I should. I've never felt compelled to write a memoir, mainly because I felt like I just didn't have enough to say about my own. I didn't have enough to say or impart about my own life for me to write about it. And that if somebody, I love reading memoir, but it was
sure.
one of those things where I was like, if somebody feels so compelled to write my biography, then they can go nuts, and I'm an open book. But I never wanted to delve into my own story
Got you.
like it's a story.
Uh, well said, well said. Totally understood.
Hmm.
Did you see the other day, Mike Tyson on his Instagram talking about the Notebook?
Yeah.
And he's like, "I love that." Like, Mike,
Yeah.
Mike, you better come on down. That's no,
Hmm.
that's crazy. All right,
Hmm.
so talk to me about who are some of your influences, right? Like what are some of your favorite books? Who are some of your favorite authors? Who do you feel like flavored you the most?
Ernest Hemingway is definitely the top, not just his writing, but also his approach to the craft.
Sure.
Which because sometimes you can love a writer's work, but not necessarily approach it the same way as them. Like I love Toni Morrison's writing, but when I heard her talk about process, I was like, we have nothing in common with how we
Right.
actually get the book out, as opposed to Hemingway, where his writing is great, but his process speaks to me more than anything. It's almost like a bit of an obsessive, maniacal process, and that's certainly how I approach it. I love Dostoevsky's work. If we're talking about classics,
Sure.
James Baldwin is obviously one of
Oh,
the
the
best
goat.
to ever do it. Yeah. Yeah, those from like past people, and then contemporary. It's funny because there aren't contemporary romance writers that I draw inspiration from, but I love reading writers who dig deep into emotional complexity and morally great characters. So that's why I veer toward crime thrillers because it tends to involve people that aren't necessarily good people. So I love James Patterson because he's
Oh
writing about
yeah,
people that
yeah.
aren't necessarily good people, but they're
Right.
whole people. So I like having characters that you would normally see in a dramatic story that has nothing to do with love and put them in a love story. So that's the kind of merger. And as far as actual books, Tell Me How Long the Train's Been Going by Baldwin is one. White Nights by Dostoevsky is another. Um, The Outsiders by S. C. Hinton was a
Oh,
life changing.
classic, classic. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
And it
first read
blew
that
my
in middle
mind
school.
when I found out that she was only like 17 or something like that when she wrote it. I was
Hmm.
just like,
And
Jesus Christ, what yeah,
yeah,
Paris.
and
Yeah.
and I read it. I first read it for English class in like the seventh grade or seventh or eighth grade, and I remember being so like, you go through life, and especially when you go through life a certain type of way, in poverty, through a lot of struggle, you often feel like it's only happening to you, right?
Right.
And your world feels very narrow, especially because this is back, we're older. This is back before the internet, and we can see what everybody else is doing. So it feels like it's only happening to you. And I read this story where I'm like, these white kids in the 50s in like Nebraska or Oklahoma are
Right.
living a lifestyle that I'm like, I feel that. I'm with you.
Right.
Like
Right. Right.
me and Dally were like, I am Dally. I know
Right.
exactly what Dally is going through. So being able to see yourself in a story that didn't necessarily look like you,
Right.
and on that same vein, I'm gonna hit you with this is gonna be one that might really throw people for a loop. One of my biggest inspirations towards storytelling is from the cartoon Rugrats, Chucky Finster.
Okay.
Chucky Finster, because that was the first time I had ever seen a character on screen whose mother had passed away. and my mother passed away when I was very young. So it was like, oh, despite not looking like me at all, it was like I feel like I am Chucky Finster. I was weird with the
Got
buck
you.
teeth and the
Right,
big
right.
glasses when I was a kid, and the only thing I was missing was red hair. But it was just a very touching thing where I felt like I really resonated with this character, and that started my emotional journey of like storytelling as a way to convey emotion.
Oh man, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Um, okay, so how else talk to me about the process when you started your first novel, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did you go about editing it? How did you go about querying? Did you ever reach out to like a developmental editor, a regular editor?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
how did you start that?
So I have a developmental editor, Megan McLean, who's absolutely incredible. And for my
I
first,
believe you did a YouTube with her or something like that one time.
yeah, for my
Yeah,
ahead of my second book, I did an interview because I realized a lot of writers that don't know what a developmental editor relationship is like. I wanted them to get a sense of like this is what our conversations are like, and this is what it's like to
right.
have a developmental editor. Because I'm a developmental editor, but it's hard for me to speak objectively editing for
100%.
people
That
because I'm
this
not
is
editing my own work.
Yeah, this is something that I just discovered. This is something I
Hmm.
did from a friend of mine who recommended me to another developmental editor, and we were talking, we were kind of hitting it off, but we didn't mesh because it's like very much like finding a girlfriend.
Oh,
You
it's
know,
a date.
you're
It's
out there, you're
hmm
out there dating, and we kind of like hit it off, but then we didn't, and then she was like, you know, I'm gonna hook you up with my friend, Jason, and shout out to Jason. And you know, Jason is actually a jujitsu instructor by day, writer by night. You're a boxing instructor by day. Like I think you guys might hit it off. And he's a dad of two kids, and his grandfather was a Marine, and he's actually worked with two other former police officers as well. So
hmm
we kind of hit it off, and yeah, we still have it going right now. Yeah, so
yeah,
like
it's very much like trying to find a date with
right, right,
somebody,
right. So
and
yeah, go
you
ahead.
realize that you spend in the initial part, you're spending more time talking about each other as people than about the story. It took a while before we even started talking about the book because we needed to mesh about just the way we thought about story and the way we thought about creativity in general. And that was a huge thing for me. It wasn't enough for somebody to be accomplished in the genre or have edited for major. I needed the person to understand me and me to understand them and feel comfortable exchanging ideas candidly and openly with each other. And I got lucky in finding that very quickly with Megan. And she's very excellent. We're very different as people, but we approach story the same way, and that was what really opened the door for that relationship. So that's how that got going. And I discovered her randomly. Just one of like a social media post popped into my feed, and she posted something that I thought that really resonated. So I started following her. I hadn't even
Right.
started a novel yet. I was still writing plays when I first found her. So then when
Right.
I finally did come around to writing a novel, I said I need to find a developmental editor. Let me hit her up because I noticed I didn't even know if she was a developmental editor. I knew she was a writing coach, which is a different
Sure, a
thing.
different profession. Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. Lucky for me, she is a developmental editor, and we hit it off pretty quickly.
Amazing, amazing,
Hmm.
awesome, awesome. All right. Um, that's great. That's great. And then
Hmm.
okay, so since you finished with the first book, the second book is out. What's in the pipe right now?
I'm already working on my third book. I'm in the first draft. I write all my first drafts by hand. So I'm in the
Okay.
handwritten. I'm in the handwritten first. I actually got the notebook right next to me for the one that I'm currently writing. Um, and it's a little bit different than the other two that I've worked on. A little bit more intense and complex emotionally, but it's
Right.
exploring. It's a dark romance, so it's exploring an aspect of love that doesn't necessarily get talked about as much. And I'm not spoiling anything by saying that the main couple are contract killers, and
Got you. Okay.
so it's a love story that follows them, but it's very unconventional. But it's thinking about how love manages to persist through just about any circumstance that we can imagine, and throughout history, not just when you're doing what
Is
they
it
do.
safe to say like some Mr. and Mrs. Smith type of thing?
Not quite, because
Okay.
they have a very particular mission that's driven by a very particular event that I don't want to spoil.
Okay, then
But
yeah,
yeah,
we won't
but
go there. We won't go there.
yeah, but it's interwoven with a third person who is also a part of the story, and it covers a lot of different stuff. It's actually very emotionally fraught. It's hard to write it because it's so emotional. So I'm hoping that that'll come across to the reader. But it is
Gotcha.
it's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith in the sense that they're both contract killers and they're a couple.
Right, right.
That's
Well,
about
that's
the
the first thing that came
that's
to my mind when
yeah
you said that. I was
yeah
like, oh yeah, that's right.
that's the end of the similarities right there. You'll notice from chapter one they are very different
Got
beyond
you,
that.
got you. So then, you're here on Substack, right? And your name on Substack is The Absence of Light, which I think is an incredible name, right? But
Thank you.
um, I also really love your Instagram, which is Write and Fear Nothing, right? How do you balance the immediacy between writing for real life, right, by hand on your computer, and balancing writing for Substack and posting for Instagram? How do you balance that? Those posts and writing.
Well, they for one, they all start from a common place of I don't write anything unless I have something to say. So even when I'm sitting down at the desk, if nothing's coming to me, like I don't get writer's block. I just don't have anything to say. So if nothing's coming to me, I just get away from the desk. I don't try to force anything
I
out.
like that.
So I'll be laying up in bed. I have a hard time sleeping like most creatives. I'll be laid up in bed at 2 in the morning. Something will strike me, and I'm like, I'm gonna write a Substack about this. And
Sure.
most of the time, I just wrote it right then and there. Like I'll write 2,000 words in 45 minutes because the idea hit me, and I'm sitting there in my bed at
Oh, you're
two
striking while it's
3 a.m.
hot. That's right.
Yeah, it hits me, and then I go. So same thing with when I post on Instagram. Whatever moves me, if it feels like this isn't just something I want to consume, this is something I want other people to be aware of, and then I post. And everything, even the way I write a story, it works the same way. I have to have something that I want to explore more deeply. And if it doesn't speak to me deeply enough, I'm fine with just keeping it inside. I don't ever feel like I have to do anything. It has
Got
to
you.
be driven purely by a desire of like, I really want to get this out. And as long as I'm driven by desire, I'm in a good spot.
Wow, that's yeah, that's I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
So your name, right, and Fear
Mhm.
Nothing, right? What creeps up on you when you're right? Like what are any fears that you have?
Mhm. I fear being stagnant. I'm always
Oh,
the idea I approach it is I want my first book to be the worst book. So I have to make sure that I'm advancing my skill set
okay.
and
Yeah.
in every single project that I do, so that if somebody reads my second book and they be like, "This guy was the same guy that wrote the first one." Yeah, I'm not afraid for people to. Or by contrast, I'm not afraid for people to see that I'm developing. I'm not afraid to develop in front of people's eyes,
Right.
but I am afraid of
That's
not
profound.
developing.
I do like that. I think
I
that's
appreciate
something
that,
that yeah.
and
I think
so
that's something
I do want to make sure people see that I am learning, that things are changing, that I am adapting, that not every story is the same. I don't want some paint by numbers commercialized. I'm doing the same thing over and over with the same formula. I'm like, no, I want you to feel that things are moving and
yeah, you're
progressing. Just
reinventing yourself. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's very
every single
important.
time.
You
Because
have
I'm not the same. I'd be really worried if I were the same person at the time I started my second book as I was when I started my first one. Not just as a writer, but as a man. Like I feel like you have to have progressed. You shouldn't like it's that old Ali quote. Like I can't remember who it. Maybe it was Ali, but like the person who's the same at 28 at 20.
yeah.
If he
I
thinks the same
love
way
that
at
quote.
40, then he's wasted 20 years of his life. I don't
Right.
want that. I want to be
I
very
love
different.
that. Yeah, yeah. That's a great quote. I've used that quote quite often.
Hmm.
So when you're writing, are you also thinking about? I mean, I think you just answered it, but like you can elaborate a little more. You obviously are. What kind of legacy are you thinking about when you're writing in your body of work? Like, what do you want to leave behind? Your family, your friends,
Hmm.
like
Yeah, I think
your students.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I don't really spend much time, or maybe I think about legacy, but not necessarily in the conventional sense. I think as long as a lot of people are gonna go through this life, and this is not a bad, it's not a referendum at all. But a lot of people are gonna go through this life not not feel like they made as much impact as they possibly could have. And I think that the mere fact that I am still here with everything that I've been through, I think is a testament to how much I've been impacted by other people, and that means that I want to convey that impact and not let it go to waste by giving it out to the world. So I think as for me, the legacy is added every time I finish a story, and I don't really think about it much farther ahead than that because I think very deeply about like if this is the last thing I do, then I'd like to die at my desk with my pen in my hand. And whoever finds my body can pick up the story wherever I left off. But I don't want to think far ahead of like, oh, I'm doing this thing that's like, oh, I'm hoping to change the world or change people. I don't know. I'm not curing cancer, but I want to impact people. And even if that just means one person changes the way that they view love or the ones they love, then I've already done plenty. And between that and leaving behind I have an incredible son who's a wonderful human being, which is the thing I'm most proud of. I think that's a way better legacy to leave behind for me
Sure.
than anything I could ever write. I'll never write anything as wonderful as what he has turned into, as the young man that he's become and is becoming. So there's that, and also I love the fact that no fake love story can match the real love stories. So I just keep aspiring to writing something that remotely touches anything as good as the real love stories that I've encountered, the ones I've witnessed, the ones I've lived, even lived and lost, all of that. If I think about legacy to leave behind, it's just to remind people about the power that love can have if you allow it to be a part of your life. Not just romantic love, platonic love, familial love, everything. In a world that has us so hardened and so calloused against letting
Sure.
anybody
Sure.
in,
Sure.
I want to remind people of why that's a beautiful thing and why it's a difficult thing. And that the fact is, in my opinion, I don't want to treat love like it's this thing that like, oh, I gotta have it for the rest of my life. I gotta make sure that it lasts forever. I want to love people like this shit could all end at any minute
Right.
because that to me is more important. Because as we both know from our backgrounds, we know how close you can be to losing it all at any minute. All this
Right.
being
Right.
over
Right.
with.
Right. Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how I try to approach it. So I think from a legacy, if I had to think about it from a legacy standpoint, that's the legacy that I want to leave behind is how important it is to love like hell right now.
Right. Wow. Okay. That's yeah. I think you just dropped another jewel. Yeah. What's yeah, that's I see it.
Mhm.
What's uh what's a piece of advice that you have or something that you received when you were a young, not that you're not young, but like a piece of advice that you received when you were an up and coming writer for someone who wants to write or who wants to dabble in theater or screenplay writing, you know? What's
Mhm.
something that you have for them to take away?
One of them is something I'm going to impart from my eighth grade English teacher. It was both the first and best advice I've ever gotten. And it actually is how The Absence of Light became the name of my Substack. It was to honor him, Mr. Kiamos. He once pulled me aside. He'd read a bunch of my writing essays for class and stuff like that. And he said, I feel like you're writing from such a heavy place for somebody that's so young. And he said, when you think about your life, what do you see? And I said, I see darkness. Like I don't really see much of anything. And he said, I don't think, but he said, in your writing, there isn't darkness. There's an absence of light. And that little nuance difference changed the way that I write and approach creativity. And that this is the space I create from. It's fine to be in a dark place, but you got to make sure that you bring light to it. It's fine to leave room for pain and grief and sadness and sorrow and all these things that are all very human emotions. But you got to make sure you leave room to let some light in. And sometimes if the light doesn't find you, you got to go find it. So I
Uh-huh.
think so that was the first. It was really advice in general. He was speaking to me as a writer, and then ultimately, as I got older, I realized he was speaking to me as a man.
As a
Speaking to me as a
person, right?
person,
Yes,
as a
yes,
person.
yes.
Yeah. So
That's the
that's
real
one.
life advice. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one. And then another great bit of advice I had from my very first time co-directing in theater. It's incredible director and former CEO of the All Stars Project, Gabrielle Kurland. And she was a wealth of, she's still with us, is a wealth of advice and guidance and mentorship. But one of the things that she really helped me learn how to do was to slow down and sit with discomfort sometimes in a scene, to let things get a little bit darker. And even my editor, Megan McLean, who shot to Megan, she says this to me often, and this is how I knew that she was going to work for me because she doesn't know Gabrielle, and she said the exact same advice that sometimes if you think a scene has gone too low or a character is getting too low, go a little bit lower and see what you might find. Put
Okay.
them through a little bit more and see what you might find. Because that's where, pressure makes diamonds. That's where you're going to
Sure.
find the real impulses, the real actions that these characters are trying to take on. And that little bit of advice allowed me to sit more deeply in the discomfort of a scene, the discomfort of a conversation, not just on the page, but in real life. has opened tons of doors for me as a human being and as a person that tries to slow down and see all facets of everything. I hate hyperreactivity, which makes social media tough. I don't like
Right,
reacting
right,
quickly
right,
to
right.
anything. Whenever
Right.
anything happens, I like to slow down and like, let me give this a moment. Let me figure out what I really, because I don't trust that first emotion. Let me see what I really want to feel. They helped me slow that down, and that was great advice for me as a person, and that bleeds into my writing.
Got you.
Mhm.
Oh man, I got so many questions in my brain, and like I wrote everything down, but you know how
Yeah.
what what books can you
Mhm.
offer for someone who wants to be like self-taught? You know, like what
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of The Artist's Way.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that book is amazing, and I've done
Mhm.
that book probably like 4 times. You know, sometimes
Mhm.
maybe even a little bit more, but like sometimes I'll pick it up, go about a quarter, drop
Mhm.
it, pick it up a couple months later, and then I'll do it again. But like I think that book really helped me unlock a lot of doors and emotions and
Mhm.
stuff. And of course, I've probably read Stephen King's On Writing about 8 times. But like
Mhm.
what books have you found that helped you?
Other than the two you just mentioned, because I love both of those as well. Um, for structure, and though it's not for novels, it's for screenwriting. But a lot of what he talks about
I think
is
I know what
conveyable.
you're saying.
But Story by Robert McKee
Oh no,
is
no, I never.
yeah. Story Save the Cat is probably the one that everybody
Well,
is
that's what I was
familiar
gonna
with.
say. Yeah,
That's
yeah. A
the one
friend
you're
of
probably
mine.
thinking of.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the Story by Robert McKee was great for helping me understand story structure.
Got
And but then the actual content, because I love line editing. That's my specialty and it's my favorite. Tightening up words and the way things move, because words are like music to me. And I can feel when something's out of tune, like a guitar string or a piano key that ain't sounding quite
sure,
right.
sure.
So even the little nuances that make changes in sentences. And the art of dramatic writing by Lajos Egri. It's an old book, but I think it's from like the 50s or the 40s. But the art of dramatic writing, that one was a game changer in the style with which
Right.
I
So,
write.
so
Mhm.
I'm gonna put these on the link also. So,
Yeah,
Story by who?
Robert McKee.
Robert McKee. Perfect. And then the second one.
The second one is The Art of Dramatic Writing. It's by Lajos Egri.
Gotcha.
Lajosegri.
Great. I'll find it.
Mm.
And then all right. Oh man, you know how sometimes and I'm prepared. I got my little notes and everything and stuff.
Yeah.
But like whatever. I think we're doing great, man. Not to toot our
Mhm.
own horns and stuff, but I'm having so much fun, and I'm in awe of
Yeah.
you. I'm like, wow, this brother's
Oh.
actually doing it, man. Like,
Mm.
you're really living the dream. And I'm going to put up the links
Mm.
to your two books, but tell um to the 4 people that's listening, yo, thank you very much.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
We I appreciate you. But where can we find your books? So
So
Amazon is one place, right?
yeah, Left Unsaid is available on Amazon and Kindle. Lost in the Sun is available widely. So you can that's Amazon, it's on Barnes and Noble,
Amazing.
it's on Kobo. Check your local there's so many independent bookstores. Check your indie bookstore. They might already have it. If not, they can get it for you. But it's available widely. So you can throw a rock and you'll be able to get Lost in the Sun.
Okay, great,
Mhm.
great. Um, yeah, if
Mhm.
you wanna, I think that's it. If you let's
Mhm.
vibe for a couple minutes and
Yeah.
yo, the 4 people that's online, say hello, man. Ask us any questions. Like we can stay
Mhm.
on a couple extra minutes. Jared, it will be more than happy to talk about his book, about anything.
Mhm.
You can ask me anything. We're here.
Mhm. Yeah, and I also want to say I really appreciate you. I love having this conversation with you. And really creating a space to have these kind of conversations. I love talking about craft. I love talking about writing.
I'm having so
So
much fun. Last night I
yeah.
was laughing when you were talking about Toni Morrison because um we were talking about Beloved last night in POV, like
Oh
how
yeah.
everything how she started,
Mhm.
and then like it was one I see you, Pete. 1 second, but like how
Mhm.
she started the whole book in the second person, and then at the end she switched.
Yeah.
We were laughing because it was like, man, that's Toni Morrison. She could do whatever the heck she wants. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Exactly.
but that's something that I read somewhere. I forgot where I read it, and they said someone had wrote that you got to learn. and master all the rules so that you can
So
break
you
them.
know which ones to break. Yep.
Yeah, to know
It's
which
a
ones to break and which ones to, some rules you have to stick to them.
mhm.
Like a Floyd Mayweather who like never, some boxers put their hands down and stuff, but not Floyd Mayweather. He's always in his,
Yeah,
the
in the
same thing
shell.
with the art of writing. Like some rules you can break, some rules you can't.
Yeah, I think the key is I look at them as guidelines in a sense. But I think, and speak so back to the advice question. I think the best advice that I have that comes from me and my what I've learned through my process. I'm not saying an original thought, but I think the most valuable thing that I have is I know exactly who I am when I sit
Okay.
down with the pen in my hand. I'm not trying to figure out anything. I waste no time whatsoever worrying about whether anyone else considers me a writer or not.
Okay.
I don't worry
Wow.
about
Powerful. Yeah.
whether they see me as a good writer.
Right.
There's nothing anyone could say or do or think of me that will take the pen out of my hand. So then why would I bother slowing myself down to pay attention? I see a lot on social media of people are like, you're still a writer if you, who cares? I'm a writer because I said so. I'm here because I
I
decided that
feel that.
I'm
Oh,
here.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't really care about the outside noise and I'm really good at blocking it out. But it's in part because I'm not looking for my identity from anyone else. And I'm not
Right.
looking for it anywhere. I know exactly who it is because I found it. I went deep inward. I went to that dark place to figure out who that person is, and then
Right.
take that person by the hand and bring him with me on this journey.
Oh, I
So I'm
love
not
that.
I'm not worried about the rules or guidelines, and I know what they are, but I also know why I break them when I break them.
Sure.
So
Sure.
sometimes like a rule is like, hey, don't start a chapter with dialogue. Not only did I do it in my first book, I did it 4 times
Okay.
because I was very intentional about this doesn't pull the reader out. This actually is going to pull you deeper in to something to going right into what because it's a transition from the prior chapter. So it's going to feel like a seamless handoff. So it was a very intentional. I knew why I was doing it.
Right.
I don't just do stuff just to do them. It's not. You have to know why you're doing it, and that comes down to being grounded in your identity. You know what your voice is, and you know what kind of writer you want to be, what kind of writer you are. Then the rules are going to start to feel like
Right. And
guidelines, and you're going
and
to
you
feel
know
way more
what your
comfortable.
message is that you want to get across.
Hmm.
Right.
Exactly,
Right.
and also being okay with having no control over the other end of it. I
Right.
don't lose any sleep over whether people are going to enjoy my writing because I've came up in New York theater. Like you get used to
Sure.
people not
Sure.
liking what you do and people not everybody's going to love what you do or the way that you do it. So I'm okay with, hey, I don't get to tell you what to feel. You can feel whatever you want. The only way that I fail is if you feel nothing. That's the only way that I fail is if you feel nothing. If you pick
Right.
up my book, by the time you get to the end, I promise you're gonna feel something. I
Right.
promise you.
Right. I love that. I love that. So, Mr. PM Dunn is asking, do you guys do readings? And if so, where and when? I'll let you answer first.
Mhm. I have some things in the works that I'm hoping will be confirmed soon, but there will be readings for my second novel, For Lost in the Sun, coming up. I want to make sure that I have all the details set, but then I'll be posting about it. Follow my Substack, The Absence of Light, or follow me on Instagram, Write and Fear Nothing. You'll get to hear all the details about
Amazing.
upcoming
Yeah, and the
events.
moment you post something, I'll be kind enough to restack and repost. Of
I
course,
appreciate it.
yeah. Of
Yeah, I
course, of
appreciate it.
course, yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, and Pete, I'm doing my next reading on October 10th in Irvington. I'll post about that as well. I've been doing I've posted, I mean, I've recited at an open mic some of my
Mm,
stories up
mhm.
in Irvington, about like 5, 6 miles up north of me,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and it's fun, man. It's so
Yeah.
liberating. It's like,
Mm,
and it's addictive. I'll be up on the microphone and I can see like, wow, this is why rockers rock. This is why rappers rap. This is why people
yeah.
MC.
Mhm.
It's an addictive feeling. It's a liberating feeling. Like I love it. I love it a lot. Yeah, I can't wait to get up there and start speaking some more. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
there's a real high to being on stage, for real.
listen, I wanted to circle back how you said you had a problem with stuttering when you were younger. I actually I actually suffer from something like that right now, but only when the camera comes on, only when you put a mic in my hand. And
Mhm.
it's something that it's something that, like, the only way you can beat it is by doing it. Like
Go
the
through.
age old thing is like, how do you do more push-ups? By doing more push-ups. How do you do more pull-ups? By
Mhm.
doing more pull-ups, you know? Um,
Yeah.
so that's why now, like at this late age, I'm starting to trying to conquer my fears and get up in front of the mic and start spitting, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I
So, so,
love
so,
that
so, so talk
sometimes
to me about your experience
yeah, I think
as
it's
a young man.
sometimes the only way out is through.
Right.
And yeah, so I when I was younger, I it's funny, I wasn't entirely aware of it. But I got made fun of for lots of things. So I think it was hard for me to I was a big kid with like a big head with a skinny body with buck teeth with a gap and the whole
Sure.
so I had plenty of and then by the time I was 13, my voice was this deep. So I had plenty of things people to make fun of. So it was hard for them to pin down, hey, I'm gonna make fun of him stuttering. But it wasn't super severe. It happened when I got overly excited, and sometimes it still does, where I'll sound
Right.
like a skipping record, and I'll repeat the same thing a couple times. Sometimes so quickly, I'm conditioning myself to. Sometimes I'll do it so quickly, so quickly, so quickly, like that. Like
Right. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
say it super fast, and then I'll move on, and a person will be like, "Did he just say that 3 times?" And it happens so quick that they might not even notice it right away. But if
Sure.
I'm overly excited or if I'm upset, then it'll pop back up. But the funny thing is, I got through it. It happened there for a moment. I got through it, but I'm very comfortable on camera or very comfortable in front of crowds. So
Right.
it's weird that I've never been uncomfortable in front of crowds. I just didn't always have something to say comfortably. So now I can speak just fine, and you could put me in front of 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people with a microphone, and then just tell me how much time I have, and I'll get up there and start talking, and I'll be
That's
totally
beautiful.
fine.
Yeah, that's
So
beautiful.
I think it was just I wanted to let I needed my words, my speaking words, to match the confidence that I have in the way I move through the world. So the way
Right.
I write, and I was originally a poet when I was in middle school and high school.
Okay.
The way that I wrote, I had a level of confidence because I wasn't afraid of what people were going to think of my writing. So then, as I got older and I became better with my speech, I started seeking out ways to speak in front of people, and now I write speeches for people. Now
Wow.
I do speaking engagements where I'm totally comfortable. I don't need to know how many people are out there. I don't need to be. I'll do a show for one person the same way I'll do it for 10,000. But
Oh man, I
it
love
doesn't
hearing
sway
that.
me. Yeah, so
Isn't
that was
that a
my
beautiful
journey.
thing? How your abilities sometimes one is here, the other one's over here,
Mhm.
and then sometimes they. It's a beautiful thing when they meet at that place, you know, and they intersect, and you're
Yeah,
becoming who you were meant to be. That's great. That's beautiful.
yeah, well, people say, like, from what I always hear is that public speaking is the thing that people are the most afraid of in generally, like, especially in the professional space, that they
Right.
will do anything to avoid having to speak in public. I'm like, I wish I could speak in public more often. I wish that was more of my job, was just getting up to talk to
Yeah,
people because
I took a class a couple of months ago with a gentleman online. You might have seen him. He's a Marine, the Dutton
mhm.
mindset. And,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I did about 6 weeks with him, and his classes were so informative and so great, and, like, sometimes I'll jump on Instagram and do a little motivational speaking, like, little 60-second blurbs and stuff,
mhm,
but I'm so nervous, man. I'm like, "Oh, why is my lip like that? Why is my eye like," but I just gotta learn to, like, just tell that tell that inside voice
mhm.
to "Get out of here," just keep
Well,
moving
you
forward,
gotta
and right. The only way
what
to
might
it is
help
through it.
yeah, what might help is to remind yourself that you've already proven that you got the tools to navigate fear.
Right.
Like you've already clearly. I mean, look, I'm looking at the flag behind you in the middle. Like, I know you well enough to know you've been through
Sure.
enough that
Sure.
you've got the tools to navigate fear. So sometimes it's helpful to just have perspective of like, wait a minute, look what I've been through. Look where I've been,
Right, 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 right,
and I got through that. This is just talking to people.
right.
Nobody's
That's
presumably
all it
nobody's
is.
gonna open fire in this room.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing that we used to have to worry about. We ain't
Sure,
got to worry about that
sure.
now. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that's part of it for me. Is like I've been through enough. There are things that scare me so much more in life than just the conventional. I'm not afraid of the dog. I'm not afraid of spiders. I'm not afraid of heights and nothing like that. The things that scare me are like so much deeper, and they aren't waiting for me on a stage. So a stage is one of the places
Right,
where I feel
right, right.
the most
It's a
comfortable
safe
because I
space.
feel more
It's a
control.
safe space,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Somewhere where you're very comfortable and you're like, "Yeah, I get it. I get it."
yeah. Hmm.
Awesome. Jared, man, I think we came here and we did what we set out to do, man.
Absolutely.
This
Hmm.
has been great,
Hmm.
informative. Maybe we'll do it again in a month or 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
and see what else we got to talk about. But
Yeah,
like
man.
I said, man, this is great. This is a pleasure, man. You already let us know. I'm gonna post everything after this once this goes live to the stack. And I'll advertise on my Instagram and Facebook.
Mhm.
And brother, man, I just want to let you know that I'm proud of you, man. I think that what you're doing
Thank
is
you.
beautiful. I admire you since the first day I met you with
Yeah,
Andy, and I was like, yo, this
yeah.
guy is on it, man. Like this is beautiful, brother. I want to be around him. I want to be like him.
Mhm.
You're doing it, man. I can't believe it. I'm so happy for you. Um,
Thank you,
and
man. I just want to say
I
that.
can't wait to see more of your journey, your growth.
Thank you, brother. I want to say
Yeah,
the feeling is mutual because you are an incredibly motivating presence and energy to be around. That just
thank
makes it. You be around you for 5 minutes and feel like, man, I need to be doing more. Like just sort of like it just somehow like I suddenly felt lazy. I'm sitting there for 5 minutes. I'm like, I work my ass off, and I feel like I'm lazy sitting across from this
yeah,
dude.
yeah, yeah,
So, but yeah, it's an absolute pleasure and honor to have met you and get to build with you. I look forward to seeing more of your journey as I've already watched a
yeah,
ton.
yeah,
So yeah, and listen, the hard part isn't getting me to talk about writing; it's getting me to shut up. So
yeah,
anytime you want,
yeah.
anytime you
No,
want
but
me
that's a
to,
good
to
thing.
chill, let's do it.
That's a good thing, and that's great. That you just said that. I'm gonna start making some next questions for when we meet up. This dude, I love Substack, man. Like the first time that I saw live was actually with PM Dunn, and I
Mhm.
seen him with some other artists, and I was like, wow, what a platform, man.
Yeah,
Us writers, we need this kind of platform. Whether you are an established writer already, right? Or whether you're an upcoming writer or you're just a kid that likes books, right? Like
yeah,
this is what a platform. I think that we're catching this wave at the right time, right? I think
yeah,
so we need to just stay on this wave and just because like this wasn't around uh 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but now
mhm,
like anyone can do it now. Like literally anyone, and we got no excuses. Anyone can get up there and get their word out, get their message out, get their books out. We're not to sound corny, but like in the best time to be alive is right now.
oh yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
as an
absolutely, yeah.
artist, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Substack. I feel like it was I'm not a fan of social media in general, so I feel like Substack was made with me in mind of like, oh, here's a platform that is exactly the kind of platform I want to be
Right.
a part of. I want to read other people's thoughts that are well thought out and well curated, critical thinking. I want to read people's views and perspectives from all across the spectrum. And this is a place to do it without so much of the inflammatory vibe and energy of the
Sure.
instant
Sure.
spaces like an Instagram or Twitter or X or whatever, all these different places. They have their place, but for me, Substack is my favorite platform to be a part of.
Yeah. So far, me as well. Me as well.
Mhm.
Well, all right, Jared. Listen, I'm gonna
Mhm.
cut out of here, man, brother. Yo, I
All right, brother.
salute you, man. You're
Thank you.
like I said, you're an inspiration. You're someone to watch out for. Um, you're gonna do it, man. You're gonna and you set you set the lead. I'm following, brother. Great, like you know,
Thank
yeah.
you, brother. I
All right,
appreciate you.
brother.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna
All
post
right.
it later. I'll shoot you a text when it gets posted. And to our 4 viewers, thank you very much from the bottom of our heart.
Yep.
Um, Stay following us. We're gonna have some more interesting talks in the months to come. All right. Peace out. All right, brother. Later.
Later.